So we've been having problems with these handhelds, and they just keep on dying. One of the things that usually dies on it is this cable right here. So I've got one here that I tested, and I'll show you what it does, because it doesn't quite work right. So it looks good so far. If I wiggle the cord, it just shuts off. Now it's almost always a problem with the connection on the end, and it's probably going to be in here because of course I willed it over there, but since you're going to be taking this apart, I might as well take apart the whole thing and just check everything out. So the wires are not terribly stiff on this one, and they're all connected. Another thing that happens often is that these break off. So this is what you'll see. There won't be a clip there, so it won't be able to hold on to the handheld. I don't actually see any problems here, except there is kind of a weak solder joint here on the white. That might be causing it. But there's nothing on the joints, which is where I saw it on the last one. It actually had so much solder built up from the last person that repaired it, and so much copper, which from where people were pulling it out and extending the insulation on the wire, that they were touching and they were shorting. It was actually shorting out the unit. I don't think we're getting that on this one. I think the problem we're actually having is that there's probably a break in the wire. Alright, so the pink is breaking. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to cut the whole thing and we'll start over. So I'm going to pull this back, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get this a little bit bigger. So that will thicken up the wire so that this is the collet, will fit more secure. So you can see over here it slides real easy, and then over here it slides a little less easy. So when I start squeezing this down, it will have more material to squeeze onto. So if we pull on the cable, it'll pull on this collet and the insulation instead of all these wires. There we go. All right. You can see the blue just fell out. That's because we're not using it. So I'm going to take the blue here, cut it off early. Tricky one here is the gray. So you can see it right here. We've got this loop and the actual wire going to this single pin. And that pin is designed to only hold one. And so we can see we've got one right here that isn't used. And normally what you do is you just press the wire in like that, and then you would solder it. So I want to make myself a little room. So first what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull out the yellow. You can kind of see just how deep that actually goes. It's not very deep at all. So now I'm going to try to pull out the gray. There we go. Okay, so I pulled out the gray, but I also pulled out the jumper. So I'm going to have to put that back in. But that's okay, because that's going to give me a little bit of room now to work with the gray on here. So I want to just stuff in only copper and then have only insulation left on the outside. So I'm going to cut it off right about where I saw how much was on that last wire. So not much at all. And I just took out the whole jumper. So I run the heat shrink through both. And then I'm going to strand both of these together. And I can stuff both these in this cup. Pre-tin. Now pull off the old green. Let's attach the new green. There we go. So now we can do the old. So I just got white, pink, and brown left. Alright, so brown is on the inside, so I definitely want to get that one next. all this heat shrink is going to be a real pain in the butt, so I'm going to try to put this down right now. Okay. There we go. So now I can pull the heat shrink up. So here we're looking for this notch, and this will fit over it. Just like that. So this fits over that side. Right? And then this notch will line up with this notch. Not exactly that, but it's going to be something like that on the inside. So I just want to make sure that these are kind of aligned, and then we can just push it in. There you go. Now I can jam the collet up. And this notch is also going to line up along that line. Right there. Fit the strain relief. I want to try to hold the wire because the wire is going to want to spin, and then spin this on. There we go. Nope. Still don't work. And again, we don't have the blue, so I'm going to take that one out. I'm going to press on this clip, this little metal piece that's showing, and then pull the pin out. And then we can kind of see what we're looking for. There's insulation right here, so it's clamping around the insulation up to about here, and then it's clamping the wire in the last part. So I have these females. So there's a part that's notched out right at the end, that clips around the insulation, and then there's a little bit right here that clamps around the wire. So I'm going to strip just enough so that the part that clamps around the wire will have wire, and just a little bit more. And then just a tiny bit more. So the insulation will fit in, and then we got the wire sticking into the crimp just a little bit. So I'm pulling back on this, and that pulls down these two holes, so it'll sit in there. And I want to drop the pin in just so it fits right where I want it. Okay. So it's flush with the crimping surface. Make sure we twist the wire. Okay, and now we've got a decent crimp on here. If I pull on it, it's not going to pull off. So that's exactly what we want. Okay, so that should be that. Let's put the strain relief back on. So it's going to go like this. There's a little rubber notch right here that has to fit inside that slot. Or a little rubber tab. And then we got a nut on the bottom to hold that in, and then screw this down. Now we can put this back together. Just make sure the tabs line up with the slots. Okay, so looking good so far. I'll throw the cap back on. And screw that back down. Okay. Let's see how it works. Okay. Cool. Another one good.